What if I told you the most powerful thing you could do after she leaves is nothing? Not call, not chase, not explain, just silence. Would you believe that silence could haunt her more than 1,000 desperate messages ever could? This isn't about playing games. This is about reclaiming power. Your power. The kind rooted in stoicism, in emotional control, in a calm so cold it burns. This is the story of a man who gave everything, his time, his attention, his soul, to a woman who didn't value it. She left. He shattered. But instead of crawling back, he sat in the wreckage. And there, in that stillness, he built a fortress, not for revenge, but for rebirth. See, women are tuned into energy. The moment you stop chasing, the moment your validation goes silent, a strange thing happens. She starts wondering, not just about you, but about herself, about why your absence feels heavier than your presence ever did. That's what this video is about. What she secretly feels when you don't chase her, the psychology behind it, and how you become untouchable by walking away without a sound. If you're tired of being broken, if you're done giving power to someone who didn't earn it, this is your path. We're not here to beg, we're here to rebuild. And the first brick is silence. If you're done explaining yourself to people who never listened, if you're ready to build something unshakable, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. My silence speaks volumes. Number 1. The echo of silence. When you go silent, you do something most men aren't willing to do. You reject the bait. You step away from the need to be understood, validated, or chosen. And that silence, it lands like thunder in her mind. See, most guys panic when a woman pulls away. They double text, they send long paragraphs, they pour out everything, hoping emotion will win her back. But all that noise just confirms her decision. It shows her she still has you wrapped around her finger. But when you don't respond, when you vanish into focus, purpose, and quiet strength, that's when the shift happens. At first, she'll pretend not to care. She'll act unbothered. But underneath that calm exterior, questions start to bubble. Did he give up? Is he seeing someone? Has he really moved on? And the moment uncertainty creeps in, curiosity follows. And curiosity is the gateway to regret. She starts stalking your social media, checking if you've watched her stories, wondering why you haven't reached out, wondering why you're not doing what every other guy does, beg for another chance. She won't admit it, but your silence makes her feel exposed, vulnerable, like she miscalculated. She thought you'd be easy to figure out. Now you're a mystery, and mysteries are powerful. Stoicism teaches us that control over others begins with control over ourselves. Silence is the purest form of that control. You're not just ignoring her, you're choosing peace over drama, dignity over attention, power over impulse. That's not weakness, that's command. And this is where the real reversal begins, when your lack of reaction becomes the loudest message she's ever received. Because when a woman realizes she's no longer the center of your emotional universe, she doesn't feel victorious. She feels lost. Number 2. The mind game. She didn't see coming. She thought she knew how this would go. She expected the same tired pattern. Pull away and you chase. Go cold and you start apologizing. That's how it works, right? That's what every other guy has done. But not you. You didn't flinch. You didn't lash out. You didn't even explain yourself. You simply stepped back, disappeared, and left her alone with her thoughts. And that, right there, is the twist she didn't see coming. You flipped the script. In psychological terms, you introduced a pattern interrupt. She was following a script in her mind. Act distant, get attention. Pull away, get pursued. But your reaction, or lack of one, shatters that. Now her brain scrambles for meaning. Why didn't he chase me? Was I not worth it? Did I misread everything? She's no longer in control of the game. You are. This is where dark psychology meets stoicism. You're not trying to manipulate. You're not playing games. You're simply mastering your own emotions so well, it makes others question theirs. That's unsettling for someone who thrives on emotional reaction. She can't push your buttons anymore because you took the panel away. You shut the whole system down. And here's the key. Real attraction lives in contrast. People crave what they can't fully have. When you detach, when you stop seeking her approval, she starts to wonder why yours meant so much in the first place. That's when the chase flips. You become the variable, the wild card, the mystery. And in the world of attraction, mystery is magnetic. She starts imagining conversations that never happened, replaying memories, creating meaning from your silence because her ego demands closure, but you gave her none. And the absence of closure is a powerful form of control, not because you're being cruel, but because you've chosen peace over performance. You didn't ghost her, you just stopped explaining your worth. Number 3, rejection is redirection. She said it was over. Maybe she ghosted you, maybe she told you straight. Either way, it hit like a punch to the chest. You felt it in your gut, the silence, the emptiness, the disbelief. Rejection has a way of making you question everything, your worth, your choices, your time. But here's the truth that stoicism drills into your soul. What happens to you is never as powerful as what you do with it. And rejection, it's not the end. It's a redirection. A brutal, unsentimental push away from what you thought you needed toward what you actually need, yourself. You thought you were being abandoned, but maybe you were being freed. You thought she was your peace, but maybe she was your distraction. The pain is real, the heartbreak is raw, but the blessing is buried inside it. This is your fire, this is your forge. You don't build strength in comfort, you build it in collapse. You build it when the world falls apart and you stay standing, quiet, unmoved. Rejection pulls the mask off reality. It forces you to see who really values you, and more importantly, who doesn't. And once that illusion is gone, you get clarity. That clarity, it's priceless. Because now you don't chase what doesn't serve you. Now you don't settle for crumbs. Now you don't explain yourself to someone who walked away without hesitation. This is the pivot. This is the moment where heartbreak becomes power. You stop trying to get her back and you start getting you back. You redirect your energy. You hit the gym. You sharpen your focus. You kill distraction. You build in silence. She thinks she rejected you, but all she did was unleash the version of you that doesn't need her anymore. That version, that's the one who becomes unstoppable. Number 4, the weight of regret. She thought walking away would be simple, that you'd hurt for a while, maybe beg, maybe spiral, but eventually fade out like the rest. What she didn't expect was silence. Not passive silence, but surgical silence. A kind that says, I heard you, I just don't need to respond. And that silence, it lingers. It loops in her mind like a song she can't turn off. Because silence without closure breeds one thing, regret. At first, she may feel free, liberated, like she made the right call. But time doesn't favor impulse. It exposes it. Slowly, your name stops being just a name. It becomes a question mark. She scrolls through your old photos. She rereads messages. She replays memories she swore meant nothing. And the silence. It starts to hurt her more than your words ever could. You didn't chase her, and now her ego has no closure. That ego, which once fed off your attention, now starves. Every moment she doesn't hear from you is a reminder that you're no longer orbiting her world. And that void, that absence, it becomes heavier with time. She expected an argument, a dramatic plea. Instead, She got a man who chose peace over performance. And that's rare, that's powerful, that's unforgettable. Because real strength doesn't announce itself, it just is. You didn't explain. You didn't justify. You just let her go. And the weight of that decision falls on her later, when the noise quiets, when the options dry up, when the attention fades. That's when she remembers, not just who you were, but how you made her feel, and how she threw it away. That weight, that's hers to carry, not yours. You don't need revenge. You don't need closure. You don't need validation. Regret is its own punishment, and silence is what delivers it. Number 5. The shift in power. Power doesn't scream, it doesn't chase, it doesn't beg for attention, it simply is. And when you stop chasing her, when you stop explaining, pleading, reacting, that's when the power dynamic flips completely. In the beginning, she had it all: your attention, your focus, your energy. She was the center, you were orbiting. But when you pulled back, when you stopped feeding the system, it collapsed, quietly, instantly. This is where most men lose the plot. They think power is about proving something, flashing success, making her jealous. Real power is indifference, not because you don't feel anything, but because your feelings don't control your actions. That's stoicism, that's discipline, and that's terrifying to someone who used to pull your strings. Now she feels the shift. Suddenly, you're not where she left you. You're focused, you're building, you're not available at her convenience. That energy you used to pour into her, it's now going into yourself, your health, your mission, your growth. And whether she admits it or not, she notices, she senses it, and it shakes her, because you're no longer emotionally dependent on her. You're emotionally free. And here's what they don't tell you. Detachment is power. When you want nothing, you're invincible. When you stop needing her validation, she starts craving yours. Not because of manipulation, but because you've become rare, unbothered, solid, in control. Most men react. You reflected. Most men beg. You built. And that shift in energy, that's what turns the whole game upside down. You're not running from pain. You're mastering it. You're not suppressing emotions. You're commanding them. And that calm, that control, that's power she can't ignore, no matter how far she runs. Number 6. She watches, even in silence. She may not text you. She may not call. You might not see her name pop up. But don't be fooled. She's watching. Maybe not directly. Maybe not with a, "Hey, I miss you." But in the shadows. Through mutual friends, through fake accounts, through every possible digital crack. She's checking, because the one thing she didn't expect was you going quiet and staying there. At first it was curiosity, then concern. Now it's obsession wrapped in silence. You're no longer feeding her ego. You're not validating her decision to leave. Instead, you're doing the one thing that's worse than anger or sadness. You're moving on calmly. You didn't collapse. You didn't spiral. You evolved. That's not how it was supposed to go. And here's where psychology gets brutal. People don't regret losing you when you're broken. They regret it when you're glowing, when the version of you that loved them is now giving that same energy to yourself. When your peace becomes louder than your pain. That's when they feel it. That's when the watching begins. And it's not just what you're doing, it's how you're doing it. You're unbothered, collected, in control. That calm burns deeper than any revenge ever could. She won't like your posts. She won't DM you. But she's there, refreshing, reading, wondering, asking herself the one question she can't answer. Did I lose a man who would have changed everything for me? And every time she sees your growth, the silence screams louder. Because now she's no longer part of your story. She's just a chapter you outgrew. Let her watch. Let her wonder. You're not performing. You're not pretending. You're living. fully, powerfully, quietly. Number 7. Scar tissue is armor. Heartbreak doesn't just wound, it brands you. It leaves marks under the surface, reminders of where you bled for someone who wouldn't even hand you a bandage. And yeah, it changes you, but that change doesn't have to harden you. It can harden your discipline. That pain you felt, that sick, hollow ache in your chest when she walked away, that wasn't weakness. That was the beginning of your rebuild. Every scar has a story. But more importantly, every scar is proof you healed. And if you do it right, if you process the pain, face it head on, and don't run from it, those scars don't break you, they armor you. You become harder to shake, harder to manipulate, harder to pull off your path. Because now you know what emotional chaos feels like, and you're not letting anyone drag you back into it. She thought leaving would destroy you, but all she did was force you to grow, to sharpen, to reassess. The man who got hurt is gone. In his place stands someone more calculated, more focused, more in control. Someone who's not afraid to walk away because he's already survived the worst of it. That kind of strength, that's not loud. It doesn't need revenge. It just exists, and everyone around you feels it, including her. Here's what Stoicism teaches. Pain is a tool, not something to wallow in, but something to wield. Your heartbreak isn't your identity, it's your training. And now, you wear your scars like armor, not shame. You've learned, you've evolved. You're not bitter, you're bulletproof. So no, you're not the same man she left. You're stronger, sharper, smarter. She sees it now, but it's too late. And that realization, it cuts deeper than any words ever could. Number 8. When detachment becomes desire. She expected emotion, reaction, some signal that she still held space in your heart. But what she got was detachment, not bitterness, not passive aggression, just calm. And that calm, it's confusing. Because emotional detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've mastered control over what you care about. You stopped chasing, stopped trying to prove your worth, and without even realizing it, you became more desirable than ever. See, most guys lean in when a woman pulls away. They overcompensate, over-explain. They operate from fear, fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of being forgotten. But you leaned out. You leaned into yourself, into your discipline, your purpose, your growth. And that energy, that grounded, unfazed energy, is incredibly attractive because it's rare, because it means you're not controlled by her attention, you're governed by your mission. That's the polarity shift. When you detach, you flip the emotional current. Instead of trying to win her back, you become the thing she starts chasing without knowing why. Not because you're trying to seduce her, but because you've become immune to the emotional chaos that used to tie you in knots. And that immunity? It's magnetic. Now she's thinking about you again, wondering why she still cares, why your lack of attention stings more than your affection ever did. She'll never say it outright, but your absence is now a weight in her mind. You're not chasing, you're not waiting, you're just being, present, unmoved, and that space you've carved for yourself, that self-contained power, creates a pull she didn't anticipate, because desire is born in space, not suffocation, and detachment isn't distance, it's depth. You stopped orbiting her, and now she's drawn to your gravity. That's what happens when you become whole on your own. That's when desire comes knocking, not because you asked, but because you stopped needing. Number 9. The revenge of reinvention. Revenge isn't always loud. It doesn't have to look like success shoved in someone's face. Sometimes the most devastating revenge is evolution. Quiet, undeniable, and completely unbothered by whether she ever sees it or not. That's what reinvention is. It's the moment you stop trying to fix the version of you she walked away from. and start building the man you were always meant to become. At first, it feels like survival. You hit the gym because the pain needs a place to go. You start reading because your mind won't shut off. You dive into work, your goals, your mission, not out of pride, but because standing still hurts more than moving forward. But somewhere along the way, the fire changes. It stops being about her. It stops being about proving something. It becomes pure, internal, focused. That's when reinvention begins. You start waking up with purpose, not to post, not to flex, but because you're building something real, and she sees it. Even if she doesn't say a word, she feels the shift. You're not who you were. The broken version, the desperate version, the confused version, he's gone. Replaced by a man who knows himself so well, no one else's opinion even registers. You don't need validation. You are the validation. And make no mistake, this version of you, it hits different because it's not reactive. It's not a mask. It's rooted in truth, forged in silence, built in pain. And she realizes, maybe too late, that she never really knew you. Not this version. Not the man who rose from the rubble without bitterness, without games, without looking back. That's the real revenge. Not her crawling back, not her watching, but you not caring anymore, not because you're cold, but because you're free. Reinvention isn't about erasing the past. It's about owning it and evolving beyond it. And that's something no one can take from you. Number 10. You were the storm, not the shelter. She thought you were safe, predictable. The man who would always be there, always say yes, always catch her when she fell. You were the shelter, her emotional backup plan, her constant comfort. And then you weren't. When she left, something inside you broke. But instead of staying broken, you rebuilt. Not softer, not safer, stronger, sharper, colder. You didn't become the man who waits. You became the storm she never saw coming. You stopped being a sanctuary for someone who didn't value your peace. And once you chose yourself, everything changed. You stopped answering late-night texts. You stopped decoding mixed signals. You stopped holding space for someone who couldn't hold yours. That decision didn't make you heartless. It made you unstoppable. Because now, your presence isn't about comfort. It's about command. The man she knew was emotional, available, predictable. The man you are now, unreadable, grounded, focused. You don't get pulled into chaos. You walk away from it. That's the storm. Controlled force, purpose without apology, passion without dependence. You don't just survive the pain, you use it. And that energy, that intensity, it can't be faked. It can't be finessed. It demands respect. She remembers you as the guy who cared too much. But now she feels the absence of that care like a void she created. And there's no shelter left in you, no softness for her to fall back on. You're not the man she ran from. You're the man she can't reach anymore. And that's the full circle moment. Not because you hate her, not because you're bitter, but because you finally understand your value. You were never the fallback, never the side quest, never the safety net. You were the storm. You just forgot for a while, but now you remember, and you're not going back. You don't chase. You don't beg. You don't explain. Because you've already done all that, and it got you nowhere. This time, you did something different. You went silent. You chose strength over emotion, discipline over desperation, peace over performance. And that silence, it changed everything. She felt it. She questioned it. She watched from the sidelines as you rebuilt without her. That's not a tactic. That's not a game. That's evolution. Stoicism isn't about being numb. It's about refusing to be ruled by chaos. It's about knowing your worth so deeply you never hand it over for temporary comfort again. What she secretly feels when you don't chase her is everything: confusion, doubt, regret. But you don't need her to feel anything. You've already won the moment you chose to let go without losing yourself. This isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your rise. Let her wonder. Let her regret. Let her drown in the silence she created. You've got better things to do, a better life to build, a better man to become. If you've made it this far, you already know the truth. The storm didn't break you, it built you. If this message hit home, hit that like button. Subscribe for more unshakable truth. Turn on notifications so you never miss what's next. And drop a comment below. I don't chase, I rise. Thanks for watching Stoic Blessing. Stay sharp, stay calm, stay untouchable.